Happy Friday. Welcome back to Inside the Lines. A little bit of a different setup. Was traveling to Scottsdale yesterday, didn't have the show, but we're back, we're settled, we're ready for some business today. We're just going to go through this NBA slate, go through every game, answer some questions, give some model value plays. But before we get to the slate, we have some MLB news that we want to get to here. Jake, tell us what we're gonna be talking about here.
Yeah, Big Cheesy just mentioned Corbin Burns to the Baltimore Orioles. Pretty massive move. 2 days ago, they announced a change in ownership, and this move came right after that was announced. So if you're an Orioles fan, like Steven used to be, and now he pretty much has to get back into it now, he isn't. You're looking pretty good because you have the number one farm system, you have a really good team, and then you just traded for a former Cy Young winner. So they're looking really good right now.
That's the Orioles I used to grow up with, when we had the Rochester AAA team, always the best, and we had real ownership and not the Angelos family.
Mm-hmm. But so our numbers are interesting because some sports books moved from 88.5 to 91.5 wins. Others like Hard Rock in Florida are still at 88.5, but it's juice minus 145 on the over. We're kind of in between most of the sports books. Like on Pinnacle, you can get plus 1636 for the Orioles to win the World Series, and there's some value. That's 5.8% implied odds. We have them at 6% to win, so you're getting a little value there. But most sports books have it in the plus 1800 plus, most sports books have it in the plus 1200 plus 1400 range now. When it was plus 1800 plus 1900. So there's no value there, but we're pretty much in the middle of everything because we do like the Rays to exceed their win total of 84.5 wins. We have them at around 90 wins, and they always seem to get 90 wins. But if you're an Orioles fan, everything is looking up for you guys.
I like the Orioles bandwagon. Been on it for a few years now.
It's tough as a Yankees fan, but it's hard not to root for a team like the Orioles where they're building from the ground up and not trading for everyone.
Oh my God, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so they've done it the right way.
Yeah.
And I always say, first white man I ever shook hands with is Brooks Robinson. I was 3 years old.
That's so awesome.
Something.
I mean, Cal Ripken Jr. is joining the ownership.
Do you guys remember the first white man whose hand you ever shook? I don't think so. I do.
Probably my dad.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
But you don't remember it.
All right. Before we move on, Big Cheesy asking about, for those who saw on Twitter, my first In-N-Out experience yesterday. Vibes were awesome. Loved the energy in there. The burger itself was like...
It's delicious.
I like Food Shack better.
It's like, I think Five Guys is better, honestly. But.
Yeah. It was, I don't know. I like the environment, though. I like the feel of everything. I liked the hats. It was a good time. No regrets. Wasn't the craziest burger I've ever had in my life. All right, enough of that. Let's head over to the model. We're going to break down all of these games. If anyone has questions in the chat about certain players, props, injuries, stuff like that, Derek certainly has answers as well in the chat. We're going to start with the Heat-Washington game here. We've seen a little bit of steam to Miami here, now 8.5-point favorites.
Yeah, they broke out of their bad losing streak with a nice home win versus Sacramento. So we don't have any model value on the main markets, but I do like Bam Adebayo over 19.5 points because all the season metrics are pointing over, right? He's averaging 21.2 on the road. It's higher than his under 20 points at home. The over is 12-7 on the road. He averages 23.7 his last 3 games versus Washington. And he's averaging 1 more point this season versus last. But the reason why the line is lower is because since the Terry Rozier trade, he's had 5 straight unders, I believe. So, but the key to Miami breaking out of their losing streak was Rozier only taking 8 shots against Sacramento, but having 10 assists. So trying to be more of a facilitator as opposed to looking at his own offense. So in this case, with the recent dip by Bam in the scoring column, 16, 8, 12, 19, and 15, that in this case, regression to the mean should be regression back to his 20 points.
Like that play a lot. And where do we have him projected for?
21.
The 21? Okay,
yeah.
Value. Then we got Tyler Hero over 4.5 assists here from Jake at plus money.
Yeah, so we have him projected for 4.6 assists, but his assist numbers since the Lowry trade went down. He's getting about 10 or 11 assist opportunities per game. He's gone over in 2 of his last 4 games, but he's getting all the assist opportunities. So it's just a matter of them making the shots. And if they shoot like a regular team does, 40% or higher, they should easily hit that. He's getting all the opportunity against a Washington defense that isn't great. This correlates pretty well with the BAM play. So maybe you want to play that together. But it moved from 4 to 4.5, but plus 114 on DK is pretty good value.
I might parlay it. Pay for the drinks tonight. Nice little Miami Heat parlay. All right, let's move over to the Clippers headed to Detroit. Now, Detroit kind of has been a covering machine here, but the Clippers are getting the steam.
Yeah, because the Clippers have also been pretty impressive in this road trip. But yeah, Detroit is 8-1 against the spread recently. The thing is, Cade Cunningham is back, but he's not necessarily a statistical benefit. And if you look at his numbers, in the 45 games he's played 25 or more minutes, they have a negative 10-point differential. In the 84 games where he hasn't played or has been under 25 minutes, so probably got hurt, they have a negative 7.9-point differential. So they're actually worse from that key metric with Cade Cunningham. But I'm going to go with Jaden Ivey with over 12.5 points at just a shade over minus 104. I can get it. We're projecting right on 12 points for him. 14.5 points for him. He's just a 33% three-point shooter for the season, but he's warming up. He's hit 7 of his last 13 in his last 3 games. He's averaged 17 for the past 12 games. The over is 10-2. So the concern obviously is that with Cunningham back, that his minutes will go down. But he's averaged 13.4 points in 45 games with Cade Cunningham. So he's I think Detroit's zeroing in on those two as getting the more consistent minutes and some of the younger players not getting them.
Okay. We'll see how that plays out. Derek certainly on the 1s and 2s with the injuries and the minutes and stuff like that. I know Jake has a play here as well. He actually is looking at Cade Cunningham, not asking for a lot, 4 rebounds here.
Yeah, 4 rebounds for a guy who's 6'7", who averaged 6 rebounds last year. Yes, he's been hurt, but he's playing 30 minutes when he does play, when he's in the lineup, and he's 6'7". He should get 4 rebounds for that, though, right? He averages 4.3 and or 4 this year, but we have him with 4.3 in the Sims. It's pretty inconsistent, but I like the buy low after a really bad rebounding game where he had just 2 boards last game.
Yeah,
that's my favorite kind of play. Buy low.
It's just giving me Scotty Barnes flashbacks. You know, when I bought low on his rebounds, and I just watched for 25 minutes. Like he hasn't jumped for a rebound at one point. I watched the first quarter and a half. I didn't see him come close to being in position for a rebound. He's like no man's land. So that's what I worry about. Cade Cunningham is.
Well, that was probably
drifting
over 7.5 rebounds. This is 3.5. This is for
true. Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could see myself screaming.
But these they're both playing these point forward type positions, and yeah, it scares me.
Yeah,
I mean,
I see some questions.
2 tip outs and 2 rebounds, then he should get it. And I don't know. It's just he
makes too much sense.
If I was 6'7", I feel like I'd get over 4 rebounds every game.
Oh, 6'5", I get a few. All right.
Did you guys see Steph Curry and George Kittle, how they're the same height, and you would just think that Steph Curry is so much shorter than George Kittle? But
it's crazy. Some of these guards who you think are so short because they look so short compared to everyone, and then you go next to them and they're tower over you.
Because Steph burst on the scene and he's like 5'10",
Yeah.
So it's like we literally seen him grow before our eyes.
Yeah. It's so unfair the boys just grow throughout their lives. All right. Anyway, let's move on to Phoenix. Wish they were playing here. I would have loved to go to a game, but Phoenix going to Atlanta here. They are catching some steam as well, and some steam to the under.
Yeah, I just saw. So, I mean, earlier in the day, you could still get -3. I thought it may have changed to -3.5. I'm going to check if we can get -3 again. I'm still seeing 3.5 as the best. Let me see, because I would love to get 3. Odds Jam just knocked me out. They do that once in a while. So, yeah, it was kind of humiliating. Anyway, I like Phoenix even at -3.5. The Suns' average point differential is slightly better on the road than it is at home, which is kind of weird. And interesting, Atlanta's home point differential is no better than it is on the road. And the biggest reason is Atlanta allows 40% three-point shooting at home, and so obviously that should play into the shooting ability of the Suns. And Atlanta's had more rest, 2+ days off, but they haven't been good or any better with 2+ days off at, just 6-6 against the spread, 5-7 straight up.
Mm-hmm. Next game on the slate is Sacramento at Indiana. We don't have any model value on it, so I'm just going to brush over that. Unless other people have questions on the game, feel free to put them in the chat, but nothing we really have to write home about. We'll move on to Golden State headed to Memphis, catching some major steam. Why is that?
Yeah, well, sorry, but in that Indiana case, it's because Halliburton's playing like 20 minutes to try to play the 65 minutes, a 65 game limit to be eligible for awards, but they don't want to actually play him that much because he's hurt. Golden State and Memphis. Again, the model has value on, well, the line opened at Golden State -5.5, and that's pretty much where the model has it, but it's steamed heavily to Golden State. And it's because Memphis's injury report is pretty devastating. If they have like everyone, all their guards, but they've been playing pretty well with a makeshift lineup with guys, two-way players, people getting signed that day and then coming in with major minutes. You can see how they cover 6 straight games. So that's why I think that I wouldn't have confidence in them to cover because there's a limited sample size with this rotation of players, but it's not necessarily a horrible move. I'm going to go with Vince Williams again. Had him last week, but then he was a late scratch. You can still get over 1.5 at a decent -166. So like a week and a half ago, it was like -180. Then there was a -140 on the board last week. Then he ended up being a scratch. Now it's still available at -166, even though it was like -190 in some spots. He is projected for over 2.5. He's averaging 2.4 his last 13 games, 11-2 over, but he's coming off and under where he only went 1 for 5 from the field against Cleveland. So trending up, shoots well, at the same time coming off a down game.
Mm-hmm. Like coming off the down game, big time.
Yeah, and he did go 3 for 6 against Golden State a few weeks ago at home.
There you go. All right, Toronto at Houston. Again, a lot of injuries and weird line movement, like reverse line movement. Big shop around situation again. Barrett quickly and Podol all game time decisions. So just an ugly game. If people do have questions, please put them in the chat, but not anything we really have value on here. Let's move over to New Orleans, going to the Spurs. They're catching a little steam here. How about my guy Trey Murphy? Is he looking like he has any value?
His line's never posted, so it's always last second. I don't know if it is.
So annoying.
But I kind of like the model leans New Orleans against the spread, and the lines probably is steaming up. So yeah, the thing about New Orleans is they either clobber you or get clobbered, and they're coming off a good win, a double-digit win on the road at Houston. I like Zion Williamson over in assists. You should act now because it was +110 on ESPN a few hours ago. And now the best price I see is -108 on FanDuel. So it looks like a lot of people in the industry at this time of day are running models and doing analytics, and they end up coalescing more often than not than the same stuff that we have. Mm-hmm. So the model has him at closer to 5 assists. He's on a nice 8-5 stretch recently, but the last 4 games, just 1 and 3. But the one was an 11 assist game. I looked into it. Obviously there's a Wembanyama there, and when Zion plays against a premier shot blocker on the other side, the over is 13 in his last 9. I just did a quick look of his game log, and he averages 4.9 in these games. So I think the way he plays, obviously he's going to do most of his damage in the paint, and with a shot blocker, he's a really willing and able passer. So he'll dish it off if he draws the shot blocker over to go against him.
What a bizarre matchup that's going to be, Zion versus Wemby. I just feel like it's going to make Zion look just more like this.
Him. Yeah, he's probably going to be a late scratch since that's kind of, once I look into something, look forward to that matchup, then Zion's a late scratch.
Yeah, this does happen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move to Charlotte, headed to OKC here. That should be a fun game. OKC, just about the same spread through the day, but we've seen a lot of movement on the under. Is there any reason that would be?
I guess it's because OKC, their points allowed have been pretty good recently. I mean, they had a weird game at Detroit where they got blown out, and that's sort of just like they toss it out. But other than that, they've had an 83 points allowed, 107 and 100, and especially against Denver. So maybe that resonated. And Charlotte has been struggling to score, and I think that LaMelo Ball is at best a 50-50 to return. Mm-hmm. So that's probably why the under is coming into play.
Right.
But,
Any value on Chet Holmgren here at all?
Yeah, I mean, points, rebounds, and assists, if it's 29.5, we're projecting over 30, nearly 32. I don't think that he necessarily will sit if they're up big. I think, his minutes are consistent.
Yeah.
But the player I do like is Josh Giddey. I actually like Giddey over points, rebounds, and assists, but I thought I'd go with his turnovers because one reason we like points, rebounds, and assists is because we expect plenty of usage in what should be a game that he can thrive in and continue to play even if they're up big. So with the ball in his hand more, that there's an opportunity for him to get some turnovers too. So there's plus money available on over 1.5. When OKC is a 7-point favorite or more, the over is 13-6 with a 2 average, even though he averages slightly fewer minutes in these games.
Interesting.
Maybe tries to make a fancy pass, tries to do too much, try to show off a little bit.
Yeah. I don't like betting on things I can't physically see and watch easily. But sometimes it's good because then you just look at the box score at the end and hold your breath and hope for the best.
Yeah, but the big thing is hopeful because when it's a low number, sometimes you get lucky and it happens in the first 5 minutes. And then and then it is a low number. There's still a chance, even with 10 minutes to go, that you got 2. So that's one advantage of it.
Well, that's why we play overs in general. That's just what it is. Optimism.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over one more game here. I saw a question about this Orlando-Minnesota game in the chat. I believe someone asking about Jalen Suggs. Mm-hmm. His PRA is 13.5. Any value on that?
We have 15.2 projected.
He's so frustrating to bet on.
Yeah.
So frustrating. But I mean,
he's on the S list.
Yeah, that too. But sometimes he's more aggressive than not, and it's just. But also, Minnesota's pretty good defense, so it's an interesting play. But I don't mind it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's just one of those.
Yeah, you just look at this score and you see 20 points followed by 2.
Yeah.
And 16, 11, 6, 0. It's just come on, man.
That's scary.
He's one of those players where if he was consistently right around 12 and his line was 13, then I wouldn't mind an over if it was a good matchup. But since he's so up and down, it's not really matchup dependent. It's just so frustrating.
And I don't like Markelle Fultz having a higher line than him.
Yeah, and Fultz played 30 minutes.
So we're projecting the same level of point rebound assist for the two of them, but the odds makers have shifted the edge to Fultz, which is probably an indicator that there's momentum for Fultz to recapture the kind of lead role. So that scares me. And it also, his assists at least numbers could be in question because I like Minnesota against the spread because Paolo Banchero has struggled a lot, just 2 games. So it's not a huge sample size, but he's only 11 for 38 from the field in 2 games because, that big lineup, he's got to work on defense with Karl Anthony Towns playing all over the court and then Gobert's there as a shot blocker. So I think it could tire out Banchero and also make it life difficult for him. And without him loading it up, and then Franz Wagner isn't nearly as good on the road, even though he did cover for me yesterday, the last game. So those 2 factors could hurt the assist numbers for Orlando.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the chat here, it feels like we have a squad ride brewing here. Devin Booker has had a block in 4 straight games. Jake says we take the under here. I like that too. I agree. There's no way he can go 5 games in a row with a block.
I don't know. The guy who's been blocking a ton of shots, much to my chagrin, because I had the steals, was Alex Caruso. So keep your eye out.
Alex Caruso.
I'm not sure when they play next. They play on Saturday when we're not on the air. But check out Alex Caruso's. So it's 3-2-1-2, 3-1-2-1-3. It's a lot of multi-block games for a guy who looks like that. I'm not gonna.
For Alex Caruso.
Yeah. So I was like, darn it, that could be an interesting play, assuming that he'll be priced at most, plus maybe plus money on over half a block.
Yeah. Real quick, Big Cheesy being a loyal follower here, he wants to see the Kings Pacers model just to see if we have any kind of value.
Again,
or if he has some questions. take a look.
With Halliburton included and playing, and Matherin too, we lean Indiana, but that obviously goes away if Halliburton is just playing for a game played and not really productive. So that's why we'd stay away. Also, didn't
Big
like
Cheesy was thinking some of those guys on the Kings that got snubbed of the All-Star list might be playing with some revenge and some heat.
And they said who was right too the other day about the South Beach flu impacting them in Miami. There's no Indiana flu. There's no South Bend flu wherever Indiana plays. Right? It's hard. It's hard with it. And Sabonis revenge game is always good.
Yes. What do we have? Do we have Keegan Murray projected for what's his blocks number? Because I know he's another guy.
0.66 blocks, so we probably have value on over a half a block. Yeah, he's been blocked a lot recently too.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to play Keegan Murray prop no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I know you love Keegan Murray. I feel like everyone has their like 3 or 4 like safe space players that they like to bet on consistently. I feel like
it's just with Herter, Barnes, and Murray, we always project unders because it's always unclear which 2 out of the 3 pop, and then all of a sudden we always underproject all 3.
Mm-hmm.
We should probably just overproject all 3.
Quick question from B Mills here about Brandon Miller, rebound and assist. The line set at 6.5.
Rebounds and assists, 6.5. We're right at 6.5. So has he been on a nice run? Yeah. So again, if there's no ball, then he'll probably have to play those upper 30 minutes, in which case we would have value. So our projection is only based on a 32-minute projection. If he ends up getting 38 minutes at the same rate, then we would project an over. So if you like him to go 38 minutes, then I would bet over.
But the interesting thing about Brandon Miller was he was a really good rebounder in college, and he hasn't really had a ton of big rebounding games in pros. So that's one of the interesting things. So, I mean, 6.5, if it was in college, I'd take that every day. But
how many rounds do you get, Jake, if you were 6'10" like him? I mean, you're saying you can get 8 if you're 6'7", if you're 6'10".
All right, here's a last look at the plays from today. Take a little screenshot, do what you got to do. Derek with a little surprise prop here. Mason Plumlee over 6.5 rebounds. Can shop around for the juice on that. Yes, that is Derek's safe space player is Mason Plumlee. And kickers across America.
Yeah.
All right. With that, if you have any more questions,
we will come up with more Gatorade analysis.
Gatorade analysis we'll hit next week. We're gonna start deep. We need more time. We will start to hit the fun props next week. We will keep chipping away. Any NFL questions you have, bring them next week. Bring them through the weekend on Twitter, whatever you guys want. We're here for you. So with that said, good luck with your bets tonight. Get ready for the Super Bowl props, and we will see you guys Monday.